Period House, Interiors and Details, Part 5. Here are the characteristic colours and patterns of the late Georgian, Regency and early Victorian and mid-Victorian architectural periods. Late Georgian colours came from powdered pigments which were mixed together with oil to make the paint. The most used were pastels, known as common colours. They included off-whites called stone colours. One was a sandstone like Bath stone, others were yellow ochre or cream. Outside, one of them might be used for window frames. There was nothing like the modern white which original late Georgian windows are often painted today. Inside, plastered walls were new. Their colours were created by mixing copper or iron sulphate into the plaster to prevent mildew. Copper sulphate gave the plaster a blue or blue-green tint, iron sulphate a yellow. Drab was used as a neutral background to more colourful fixtures and fittings, which might be grained or marbled. Graining and marbling were paint effects used in all architectural periods between 1774 and 1939. Fancy colours were more expensive and were reserved for details. A dark blue called smalt was the most expensive of all. Colour treatments reflected the nature of the room, lighter and softer for those regarded as feminine, such as the drawing room, but darker for dining rooms, which might be dark or sea green. Colourful border papers became available during this period. Late Georgian patterns came from both classical and vernacular traditions. Classical patterns were disseminated through pattern books. Swags, flower pots, frets and gouaches were applied to plasterwork and fireplace surrounds. There were some Chinese and other Oriental patterns, but not only were they far from typical, they had to be imported and were consequently expensive. Most wallpapers were hand-printed using wood blocks on small sheets of paper. This made them expensive. These examples, found in Bath, used floral and geometric motifs. Bricks were made locally, so varied in colour rather than being subject to fashion. Naturally, stone also differed in colour, for example Bath or Portland. Regency and early Victorian fabric and wallpaper production changed as it was mechanised. New techniques such as cylinder printing turned out patterns such as Kingston Market. Colours came from a stronger palette as pre-mixed paints became available from colourman's shops. Red was archetypal as a proper tint of crimson or picture gallery reds. These were regarded as the best ground for pictures. Green was still popular for drawing rooms, bedrooms and libraries. Yellow could be regarded as controversial. Stripes, considered a Regency feature, first appeared as wallpapers, then from 1824 as fabrics. Anthemion or honeysuckle was a popular Regency motif derived from ancient Greece. Gilding was used on woodwork with skirting boards painted chocolate brown. The default colour for window parts and sills was a brown such as walnut or drab 3, like the modern use of white. From the 1830s the trend was towards lighter colours such as lilac or fawn in combination with brighter greens. Outside, external railings and the new verandas were painted a dark invisible green or antique bronze, a green mixed with powdered copper dust. Door surrounds and stucco were painted stone. This was subject to fashion. In London, the warmer colour of Bath stone, a sandstone, was preferred to the more local Portland, a limestone. Brick was considered down market and rendered in plaster if possible. Doors were painted unless they were mahogany or oak. The encaustic tile was invented in 1840. These were made from different coloured clays which fused together when fired. They came in geometrical patterns which used the natural colours of the clay, white, cream, red and black. They were used in halls and pathways. At the same time, ceramic tiles began to be produced by firms such as Minton. The Great Exhibition of 1851 marked a turning point in typical town houses. It was an international showcase for industry which displayed many new products for the home, most of them factory made. They included ceramics and the new water closets, which over 800,000 visitors used to spend a penny. Despite this, the influential writer and architect Robert Eddis derided them as the products of common industry. There were numerous other reactions to factory-made products. They included the design reform movement, the aesthetic movement, as well as the arts and crafts movement. But there was a growing demand for the products of common industry. It came from the middle-class occupants of new suburban homes. The writer and suburban resident Mrs. Panton begged for colours like sealing wax reds, deep oranges and beautiful blues. A new range of aniline dyes made them possible. Extracted from coal tar, these chemical dyes created colours which made mid-Victorian interiors dark, especially when combined with soot from coal fires and the new gas lighting. Some of them were toxic, especially green, which contained arsenic. Heavily patterned wallpapers were used above the dado in shades of green or burgundy. Flock papers were popular, but velvet papers were top of the range. This period featured floral, Gothic and heavy repeat designs. One of those who reacted against the products of common industry was William Morris. He designed the wallpaper trellis in 1862. He went on to printed fabrics in 1873. He preferred everything to be made by hand rather than by machine. This meant traditional techniques such as printing with hand blocks. He reinforced the English tradition of floral patterns. Period House Interiors and Details will continue in Part 6, which presents the characteristic colours and patterns of the late Victorian, Edwardian and interwar architectural periods. Thank you for watching.